All right, another video in our series, The Closes. So we're going to talk about the Porchlight close in this one, and fight or flight and true rejection. Now, this is a little bit of a review video because I've talked about these subjects before in other videos, but I just want to address them again. I'll probably say it a little bit differently. Sometimes that helps understanding it. It's here to explain two different ways. So before we get into the Porchlight, let's remember what fight or flight is. So when you go to a home, I want you to think back if you've ever gone on a blind date. Somebody sets you up on a blind date and you meet that person for the first time. How long does it take for you to decide whether you would even give that person a goodnight kiss? I'm not saying you're going to get a goodnight kiss. I'm not saying it's going to end that way. But how quickly do we make the decision of whether the person is even eligible for that first kiss? Pretty quickly. We make the same quick decision when it comes to our money. So when you get to a home, that first impression and the way you carry yourself is so very important because people are literally deciding every moment whether they would spend money with you, whether you're eligible for the thought of spending. Not saying you're going to get the money, not saying they're going to, but are you even a contender that they would spend money with? And you got to be careful not to move that needle all the way across the dial into the no, I wouldn't spend money with you category. Because if it goes there, it's very hard to get it back out. They might listen to you and gather information, but it's very hard to ever move that needle back if it ends up on the other side of the dial and I wouldn't spend money with you territory. So what happens with fight or flight is if you do something where they feel pressure, where they feel tension, they want to fight you. I told you I'm not going to do anything today. Or, oh my gosh, I forgot. I've got somewhere I have to be. Fight or flight. That is because you are putting pressure on them too early. And that's what happens when we use things like the word today and now early in the presentation, or if we talk numbers early in the presentation that make you scary. The sooner you bring up numbers, the scarier you are. And so we are, that's why we don't talk about numbers and what things cost in the inspection. That's all the way back in the close. And we'll talk about options, but we don't tell them that it's a $2,000 or $3,000 decision they're making. We just say it's a little more or a little less. Because if you talk numbers too early, you become scary and you'll trigger fight or flight. If you use the word now and today early where they feel like there's going to be this pressure put on at the end, you'll trigger fight or flight. So we allow them to have their false assumption that the decision making is going to be down the road in a week or in a month. We're giving them a 1-year quote. We don't bring up now or today. And that keeps the conversation light and friendly all the way through, and I can get strong commitments. And then at the end, after I've gathered all the information, whether they're cash or finance and what they can afford on a monthly basis and how much their deposit would be and how they would put it down, and all that information's been disclosed because they don't feel any pressure because you're allowing them this mirage that they're going to decide later. And then when you're ready, you introduce today or doing it now with the initial visit incentive. And that works because all the information's been gathered. So that's what I mean by fight or flight. And then the second thing before I go to the Porchlight close is true rejection. You have to learn to stay at the table until true rejection. And true rejection is no at the bottom of your discounting ability. If all you've done is present the initial visit incentive and they tell you no, that's not true rejection. You have more to go. And you just keep going. Okay, fantastic. Appreciate you making that decision. Let me ask you something. And you just go to the next step, which is, or you go, you know what, let me check on something. And you pick up the phone and you make that first MOD call. True rejection only counts if you also have nowhere to go in the discount. Don't be the one that gives up. Don't be the one that I cannot believe when reps tell me, well, I had another one of those people who couldn't decide today. No, you had another one of those people that you wouldn't stay long enough to get them to decide. Your job is not to make them say yes. Your job is to make them want it, need it, and gotta have it. And then they have to decide one way or the other. And you're good either way. Your job is to make them want it, need it, and they've gotta have it. Feel that emotion. And then they just need to decide either way. John and Mary, I just want to do right by you and by my company. Other than that, I want you to do what works for you. If you like what I'm showing you and this works, then let's get the job rolling. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm okay either way. But what people very quickly pick up on me when I'm in the house is that I won't accept a maybe or a procrastination or down the road or tomorrow or something else. Folks, I want you to do what's right for you. If this works for you and it's what you want, we're going to get it for you and get the ball rolling. And if it doesn't work, I'm okay with that. And take a no as graciously as I take a yes. That's perfectly fine. I just want you to do what's in your best interest. And you can do that folded paper close that talks about why they need to decide today. It's all about getting them off that fence post. This is what keeps you from coming across high pressure. You don't need to make them say yes. You just need to make them decide and let them decide either yes or no. And so if you'll be committed to staying until true rejection and getting that yes or no answer and not accepting, we got to think about it, we need to get other estimates, don't accept it. Don't. Tell the people, I don't accept it. When you get up from the table on an objection like I got to think about it or get other estimates or talk to someone else and leave, all you've done is confirm in their mind that you were just a sleazy salesperson out for their money. And once you found out you got to work a little bit at it, you just gave up. Well, fine, you got to think about it. You're not buying from me. I'm not getting any money in my pocket today. I'm out of here, John. I'm leaving. And I'm walking out your door. All you did was prove to them that you didn't have their best interest in mind. All you did was prove to them that all you wanted to do was get your hand on their money and you didn't care about what they were dealing with. All you did was prove to them that you were like every other salesman horror story that they've heard. But if you sit there and look at them and say, I need you to decide one way or the other because that's in your best interest, and you explain to them while deciding yes or no, now is in their best interest, then you're different. That conviction of how important it is for you to get a yes or no answer shows you care. Because you'll take a no just as easily as a yes. What I won't take is you're not dealing with the decision and making a bad one. And when they see that conviction of how important it is to you that they just decide one way or the other, and you get rid of the procrastinators, you will make a phenomenal amount of money in this business. So now let's talk about the Porchlight close. I love the Porchlight close. If I could only have one, this would probably be it, though there are many that I love. Because the Porchlight close gets you out of the house so you can't chatter, which is the nemesis, the problem with many a rep and a lot of new reps. So you can't even be there to mess up and talk yourself out of the sale. They get a chance to talk alone. You can even Porchlight a single person. You can even look at somebody in the right moment and go, you know what? I'm just going to leave you with your thoughts for a little bit. Quit chattering at you. It's a beautiful day. I'll be sitting out on your porch. Come join me after you figure out what you want to do. And then go out and sit on the porch till they come join you. You can Porchlight a single person. It's about leaving them alone with their thoughts. You respect them. You're not trying to push them. You're not trying to give them high pressure. You want them to have the time to just digest everything that you've told them. Let them go through their process. So the Porchlight's also a great, before you do the Porchlight, get them to agree to yes or no. That's fair. They'll just give you a yes or no when you come back in. It's also a fantastic close to deal with the person that says, I need to think about it, I need to think about it, I need to think about it. I am going to Porchlight in this manner someone who says, I need to think about it 2 or 3 times to me every time I hear it. If I do the pre-close and like, well, we're going to have to think about this, and they've said it to me a couple of times in the close, when I hear I need to think about it in the close, what I say is, well, John, that's fine. I respect that. It's a big decision. but I won't be here when you're thinking about it. Now he thinks, it'll be a couple of weeks and I'll be long gone. What I mean is I'll be on the other side of that door right there on the front of his house. But what I'm going to say is, John, I understand you need to think about it. It's a lot of work. It's a big decision. But I won't be here when you're thinking about it. So I want to make sure you have all the information you'll need to go over it. So let me just kind of finish what I'm going over so you've got all that information for when you're thinking about it. Now, if you learn to say that way, that's going to take all the pressure off of the homeowner. They're going to relax in the close, going, yeah, he knows I'm going to think about it. He's not going to be here. So let it finish hearing what he's got to say. And you can stay on your path of closing, keep gathering that information and covering the details until you're ready to talk now or today. So let me say it one more time. John, no, I understand you need to think about it. This is a lot of work, a lot to think about. I get that. But I'm not going to be here when you're thinking about it. And I want to make sure that I've given you all the information so when you do sit down and you're ready to make a decision one way or the other about this, let's make sure you got all the information to do that, okay? And then they'll relax and you can go on with your closing process and not get off track and wait until you're ready to introduce now or today. So when I've said that to somebody in the close, then when I'm getting ready to do the Porchlight, I've done my initial visit incentive, which is generally where I'm going to do this. If I've done that, I need to think about it. I'm rolling out this part of the Porchlight close at the initial visit incentive. You might do it at the social media too, depending on how it plays out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that one little set of words, I need to think about it, you need to think about it, to you need to talk about it. All I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to say it. I present the initial visit incentive, and then I start the Porchlight close, and I say, now, John, I know you need to talk about this. See, I don't say I know you need to think about this. I'm changing it now. John, I know you said you need to talk about this, and I think that's a great idea. What I want the two of you to do is talk about the quality of Remodel USA and how we do things. Talk about the quality of the project we're doing on your home and what that'll do for your home and the crews that'll be out here and the quality of the materials. And if that's what you want to do on your home, by gosh, we'll do it. We'll get the ball rolling. And if it's not what you want to do, you can just tell me no. I'll take a no as graciously as a yes. Okay? That's fair, isn't it? You just tell me yes or no while I'm here. And I don't know if I can. Well, you can say no, can't you, John? If he tries to still stick on that, I think about it. Well, you can say no, can't you, John? Yeah, I can say no. There you go. And you can say yes too. Mary, is that fair? Can you give me a yes or no? And she goes, yeah, I sure can. All right, let me know. Come get me. And you leave. And if they try and stop you for leaving from the Porchlight, just say, I need to check my voice messages anyway, and walk out the door. Who's in control here? You're in control. This is your demo. You're doing it your way. And you go outside, and they're definitely going to start talking about it as soon as you get out there. Now, when you come back in, do not be the first one to bring up business when you come back in the door. Don't go, well, what'd y'all decide? Or what do you think? Or what'd you talk about? Because even if they were there, they might unclose if you do that. Come back in and talk about something non-business. Bring up the red fox story. Talk about that fox you saw scurrying from their bushes over to the tree. Have they ever seen the white-tailed red fox that's living somewhere around their home? And then they'll talk about all the other, living creatures, the groundhogs and the deer and the squirrel and the rabbits, and you'll have a conversation. I remember one time I went on a sale, and I went out on the Porchlight close, and he had a cannon outside. So I came back in, and where'd you get the cannon, and how old's the cannon, and can the cannon fire, and learned all about cannons, and that it came from the Civil War, or not the Civil War. Yeah, the Civil War. So, whether it's the fox story or the cannon, you talk for 5, 8, 10 minutes. And then when you're done with your non-business intro as you came back, your curious question coming back from the Porchlight, you naturally just go quiet, stop chattering now. You came in with one non-business curious question about the cannon or the fox or something else you saw. You asked because you're not all business driven to the dollar. You're naturally curious. What was that thing I saw outside? And you talk about it for a couple of minutes. And then once the question's answered, you naturally just drop into silence and don't say anything else and let them bring up where they're at. And if you do that, you'll be amazed how many times they say, well, let's go ahead and do it. Or what do we use to put the deposit? Or they ask another question. Remember, if they don't say no and they ask a question, They're right to the edge of saying yes. They're right there. So I don't bring up business. I come back in and they say yes, or they have a question and I answer the question and then just nudge them, do an assumptive statement or credit app close or any of those assumptive type closes. And then if they say no, I'm going to look at them and go, now see what, you feel better, don't you? You made a decision, you know what you're going to do, but you literally have felt a weight coming off your shoulders. And they'll agree with you. And I want to always say that because then I'm going to, well, fantastic, let me check on something. I'm going to roll into my MOD call. And then when I hang it up and I give them another incentive for social media and I put them back on the hot seat, I can say, and he starts hemming and hawing, I can go, John, remember how comfortable you felt just a few minutes ago when you made a decision? Just make a decision. Get comfortable, bud. Don't put that stress on you. You can actually use the feeling they had on the last close where they told you no to convince them to really give you a yes or no on the next one to get that feeling of making a decision back. And don't let them sell you on they have to think about it or sit on the fence. Now, if you come in from the Porchlight and they try and sit on the fence, well, we're going to still need to think about it. We just can't decide. Well, folks, I didn't get through all my messages either. So go ahead. I know you told me you'd give me a yes or no. Let me leave you alone and walk back out. And then when you come back in, if they try and sit on the fence, look them in the eye and go, John, just tell me no. Repeat after me. Harold, I'm never ever going to buy windows from you. I'm not going to say that. No, I'm not going to say that. Always ask that question of whichever one of them appears to want it the most. They'll refuse to say it. Then try and get the other one to say no, they won't ever buy that thing from you. And because they heard their partner just say no, they wouldn't say it, they're not going to say it either. And then you naturally go, well, then that's great. Welcome to Remodel USA, and assume the sale. Do that a couple of times and let them hear let them hear themselves, how silly they sound about, well, no, I won't say no, but I won't say yes. I won't say no, but I won't say yes. Get them to hear that and then give them an incentive or make an MOD call and go for your next close. So that's your Porchlight with your fight or flight and true rejection thrown in. See if it helps.